We're talking to Lauri, who is a nurse in Chicago, but she claims she was fired after pushing for answers on why she was being told to wear only a cloth mask and not to even wear that in the hallways. She claims that behind hospital doors, it's really mayhem when it comes to supplies and doctors and nurses being protected, and she won't be silenced when fighting for their safety. Now, Lauri, sadly, this is not a story that you're the only one telling. I mean, if the whole country was saying one thing and then here was Lauri telling a different story, people might say, well, maybe she's just super sensitive. But this is happening around the country a lot, and that's really disturbing, particularly when someone like yourself has a 75-year-old father at home with an underlying medical condition, respiratory, COPD actually, and you have to be concerned about what you bring home to him, correct?
Absolutely. The reason why I stood up was because I wanted to protect myself. I wanted to protect my patients. I wanted to protect my family and my loved ones, and I wanted to protect everyone else. So that was my intention of standing up.
Why do more nurses not speak up about this? Some do, and they tell a very consistent story, the ones that do speak up, but why do more nurses not speak up about this?
So I'm glad that you asked that question, Dr. Phil, because I've been getting Facebook messages and other nurses have been reaching out and saying, thank you for being our voice, because so many nurses get hushed by administration and by other people where they don't have a voice. And if they do speak up against administration or what the hospital wants to do, then some way or another they get fired or they find some way to get rid of you. And nurses should be done with that. After all this that's occurring, we should be able to stand up for our rights, demand better equipment to protect us and others, and we need to stand up, and this is the time for it.
Nurses are where the rubber meets the road in healthcare. That's where it actually happens. The doctors come in and sign off on this or that or whatever, but it's the nurses who are at bedside with the patients, applying the actual treatment plans, et cetera, et cetera. And if they're not protected, this whole system's going to break down. What needs to happen here?
Well, I don't have an answer about what needs to happen. I am a lawyer who is part of, let's say, one slice of this story. The one slice of the story is I can file a lawsuit that can bring it to light. I don't have a medical answer. Obviously, I have some information. One is that apparently 2 years ago, the CDC put on the website that this should have been foreseen and all medical hospitals should have had an abundance of N95 masks. That for sure. I guess that's a could have or should have, but didn't happen.
We received the following statement from Northwestern Medicine, and it read, quote, Northwestern Medicine is committed to the safety of our employees who are on the front lines of this global healthcare crisis. While we cannot comment on the specifics of a pending lawsuit, Northwestern Medicine follows CDC guidance regarding the use of personal protective equipment for our healthcare providers. So
That's not
you
true.
you guys dispute that, of course.
Well, what's happening is this. CDC came out very clearly quite a while ago before all this happened. They come out very clearly, and as you know, you're a medical professional, and there's a standard of care, and they articulated what the standard of care was. The standard of care was N95 masks, period. Then there became a shortage apparently, and now they're backing off of it, and they're saying, well, if you don't have an N95, then wear the surgical mask that Lauri mentioned. So now the hospital is saying, oh, well, we're doing what they said. In other words, N95, absolutely, it's what we should have had, but now we're going to use a surgical mask because it's also written on the guidelines that, well, if you don't have it, then use that. But that's also like saying, if you don't have it, then put a scarf around your head or use a shirt or whatever.